All right, folks. So 4 or 5 days ago, I uploaded a video where YouPudding has been going for some wild stuff. And it's not necessarily like new. Portuguese trying to play into Feitorias has been around since the civilization's been introduced. But at a high level on Arabia, like a super open map to do it is definitely new. I can't remember anyone really trying that. If anything, if we're going to see anything out of the box with Portuguese on Arabia, we typically just seen the fast castle plays, which I've uploaded with a bunch of phosphor vids. Now, we're going to speed up here because this game is an absolute banger. And majority of this is going to play a little bit later on in the game. But we've got YouPudding here in the red on his Fast Imp Feitoria account, which is around 2k elo. And then we've got his opponent, Don Mancuso, who's here in the blue, playing as the Burgundians. Now, there were a lot of comments on the Legend of YouPudding Feitoria Edition Part 1. And there were a lot of comments who really enjoyed it, so thank you everyone who left a comment there. But there was also a comment or two, which basically alluded to maybe the game wasn't won because of Feitorias, right? Maybe the game was won because of confusion from the enemy. Because like, the guy clearly didn't know what he was doing. So, like, one comment here, you can see, like, he said he didn't think it was really because of the Feitorias. It just really came down to organ guns. So, realistically, maybe YouPudding could have just gone tons of organ guns, won the game, and, you know, it's like, what's special about that? So, I told you in that video that the games are only going to get closer, the games are only going to get better, and this is a really good example of how this can be crazy, all right? So, we know the long-term plan for YouPudding is Feitoria, but the map is Arabia, where everyone's typically going for scouts and a bunch of feudal age armies. And so, just like in that previous game, YouPudding's plan is to engage in some type of feudal age play to somewhat bait the opponent, or, you know, like trick the opponent into what he's doing behind the scenes, right? There's a lot of walling that needs to happen. There's a lot that needs to play out. By the way, YouPudding, I don't know if he thought it was stolen or if this was just part of his build, but can we appreciate this? 18 population uptime, no loom, and no elephant. Just straight up didn't take the elephant. I took the berries very early. You get the earlier food income, obviously, from that, and you don't need... You get some wood income, so you don't need, like, bills on wood, I guess, and it allows some pretty crazy things. And then the opponent is going, like, kind of for a later build, by comparison, and that's kind of expected because this player's Burgundian. So I want to talk about this from Blue's perspective. I think it's really important to show this to you from Blue's perspective. And what you'd be thinking if you're Blue right now. So Blue obviously sees the opponent is super fast feudal. You're immediately on alert. You may be thinking, oh man, like super fast scout opening is coming. Walls in the wood line here, because full wall is too much. So walls in the wood line here. Walls in this wood line as well. Maybe a slight misclick, but still, these are all protected. And Blue is Burgundian, so it's one of the best civilizations if your eco's left untouched. So I like it because it's not like excessive walling. At this level, you got to spend your wood on some form of military, right? Now, this is kind of funny. I wasn't actually expecting to see this, but Blue now walks past YouPudding's TC and sees an elephant coming in, which has to be the most confusing thing to see at this stage. Blue's probably like, what? And now Blue also sees a farm, so I think there's a lot of like, what in the world is my opponent doing here? And so Blue has yet to figure that out. Like right now, I'd be thinking my opponent's fast castle. And Blue's still looking. Blue still hasn't seen it. And Blue might be thinking right now, my opponent might be going for fast castle. Honestly, I think that's the correct assumption. And then an archer shows up with the spearman. So, like, not really the start you would want if you're Blue, right? There's just mass confusion because you don't really know what's happening. You had the scouting a little bit late and maybe assumed some of the wrong things. And so it's funny, but Blue didn't scout the gold. So Blue doesn't know this isn't normal archer build. Blue has to assume there's going to be additional follow-up archers, and Blue has to respect that. So now we have the archer range for some skirmishers. So probably, like, I think there's an argument there that Blue could play Ring Around the Rosie here, pull the villagers over to this side of the wood line. The archers probably wouldn't immediately do damage, but you are acting immediately at this level to what you respond, what you see, and man, YouPudding Just making everything about this look so easily. Quick wall there from him. And now blue loses the scout. And so that makes things even worse for blue. Because blue hasn't been able... Blue does know there's an archer range somewhere. But blue doesn't know where. You might be thinking it's sneaky, right? And blue assumes there's going to be additional archers. Now, in the first video, I talked about how it's basically like enough army to get a response from the opponent and to give himself time for protection. And so, a little bit of an army here. This definitely forces some type of response on a map this open. And all because of how in control YouPudding's been so far. YouPudding comes forward with the army. Blue has to react to this. And blue will eventually get the numbers to be able to compete. So it's 3 spears, it's 1 archer, it's 3 skirms, and 1 scout. Actually, it reminds me, guys. So these days, you'll never see someone just make 1 archer and a bunch of skirms. Because no one wants to spend the gold that could be helpful for fletching. So like 1 archer and let's say you make 10 skirms, right? Well, then your opponent makes 10 skirms, and then they get fletching, and you don't have fletching. You're outgunned, right? You don't have the range, you don't have the attack. So no one does that these days. But there was a player back in the day. His name was Maya. He was a Moroccan player. And he was famous for the Maya opening. He would go like 2 spears, 1 archer, 1 skirm. And he would just come forward. Now, back then, everyone went scouts and Hun Wars. But I don't know. If I can find good games from him, I'd probably have to go back to the old days. I do know he has come back to DE. But he doesn't, you know, play Huns anymore. But anyways, if you're interested, let me know. This just kind of reminds me of that. It would just force... People weren't used to it, and it would just be awkward, right? And I would say that even though there's only been that 1 kill, everything about this for poor blue has been awkward so far. And you might be seeing... Maybe you're seeing the downside of playing Burgundians. Blue probably getting a little bit unlucky. Like right there, blue's thinking, I need to counterattack because I don't want him to fully wall. And he's not doing damage to me. And well, guess what? I mean, the walls are already up. YouPudding is walled up, and YouPudding is planning on the fast imp behind this. So blue, playing your more standard game, you know, expecting to have to clear up the army. And to blue's credit, res collected is actually similar. Because of Burgundians and the cheaper and earlier eco upgrades, and things are looking pretty balanced. Now, this was played before the last video I made. So, I don't know how many people are watching. I think for, like, the super high-level pros, they're definitely not watching videos right after I upload them like you guys are. I think a lot of, like, 18, 19, 200, 2K players, they might be watching a little bit more. I don't know. You could tell me in the comments what your elo is and all that. But, the point is like, this is not at the point where word is necessarily out. Maybe after this video and I make 1 more video on this, then things will start to catch on a little bit. But, like, YouPudding hasn't been playing that many games with this yet. So I don't know how known this will be. Certainly at this point, which is why I bring it up, Blue had no clue. No clue what he's up against. So again, back to Blue's perspective. Blue is obviously run up against walls. So when you're up against the walls, you want to do some type of damage. And I'd be thinking in Blue's perspective that my opponent might go cav archers because I'm not seeing this range used. Or more realistically, my opponent would add knights. The opponent is completely untouched. You're showing skirmisher. Usually your opponent's going to add knights. So not even fletching for YouPudding. Not interested in any upgrades whatsoever. Blue just does not want to allow YouPudding to rest. And Castle Age comes in for YouPudding at a crazy time. 1908 is a crazy, crazy Castle Age time. Considering everything, all the work that had to be done here. And look at the builds. I mean, like, the builds looking pretty good. And so now, we are going to have a castle. And, of course, Blue's going to see this. So, Portuguese, they're, like, so stacked, right? They have the cheaper gold units. They have more ships on their navy. You get the wood from the berries. I mean, and then the Civ's got one of the best unique units in the game. It is a really, really solid Civ. And this is part of the amazing mind game that is this strat. Because everyone sees this castle, and everyone has to respect and fear the organ guns. And everyone is going to brace themselves in fear, expecting organ guns. And that is actually not what YouPudding is going to do at all. At 20:45 or 47 or whatever, pretty much right when the opponent hits Castle Age, which is a pretty reasonable time, YouPudding is on the way to Imp. That is a crazy freaking build, dude. That is crazy. Same thing as the last time, just a little bit of army. Now, he absolutely worked his opponent in both games I've showed you. Like, he's completely mind-gamed them. Even though he didn't kill a lot, you know, they've been concerned. And so now, again, back to Blue's perspective. So think about it. Pretend you're Blue here for a second, okay? So you got to abandon the Ford Wood. Organ guns are going to come. You got to get out of here. Pull your army back inside your walls for now. That makes sense. You're worried that this could get crazy. So stonewalling some is probably what he's thinking here. And going to stone now to drop a castle to make the unique unit, which is really sick. So if you get the castle up fast, maybe it's good. But now he sold the stone. What the... All right, Blue. Well, I was going to bat for you here. I guess Blue really... You could tell all the panic with the market here is to protect this area before organ guns come. And then Siege Workshop to make mangonels. So yeah, okay. So Blue was on stone. Now is selling stone. And is just really using the market a lot. So this whole time, right? It's not like you're going to really know. This whole time, you're just panicked because you're like, when are the organ guns going to show up? Which is a long time. You're still assuming, okay, he's massing them, right? It wouldn't make any sense for him to do anything else. And he didn't make one single organ. You could maybe make an argument that you should check the castle, but you can't sit next to a castle easily because it fires on you. So the smart approach is just boom and defend, basically. Especially if you're Burgundian. So I also love it from YouPudding. He's being active with his army, so it would make Blue think he's scouting to see where he could do damage to me. Okay, so then at 24 minutes, you see the imp time. And now you know something's up. And here they come, folks. Feitorias on the edge of the map. Something YouPudding was doing the entire time was shoring up the defenses with lines of houses. That also gives you population space for the Feitorias. It costs 350 stone and 350 gold to build a Feitoria. And last time he made 6 of them. Now, again, last time we didn't have a situation where the Feitoria player necessarily, like where the Feitorias clearly paid off. This, my friends, is a banger because even though YouPudding is an imp, his opponent has imp upgrades available for the eco. So we've got imp upgrade eco coming in, 2-man Saul. I think the Castle Age gold upgrade could fly in here. And so it's 3 TCs with the Burgundians. Blue's not up against organ guns, so Blue's not going to be pressured. And Blue has 57 vills versus 38. To my knowledge, this is a bigger lead than the previous game. And trust me when I say this is sick. So there's the third Feitoria. But last time, all YouPudding did was like get to max amount of Feitorias that's acceptable. So I think 6 is probably the max because that takes up 120 of your pop space. So 120 of your pop space goes into Feitoria. Then like 38 pop goes into the vills, and then what's left? Like 40 population. That better be the strongest 40 population possible. And yeah, it very well may be organ guns. Real quick, I want to say thanks again to everyone who's watching this. The support has been amazing, but I wanted to add that usually my normal upload schedule is a video a day. And for the first time in, honestly, years, the past week or two, I haven't had even, like, every other day uploads. And that's just because Titans League Season 4 is happening. Check the description if you want competitive cast. We've got action coming all the time. Multiple uploads a day, all in 4K. It's crazy stuff. But I just wanted to basically say that my normal schedule, community games, Lowy the Legends, and then just, like, uploads like this will be more frequent once that's over. That ends March 2nd. And if you guys are interested in checking out the main event of, the main event and stepping over to a live stream, I will be streaming it on Twitch from pretty much this day up until March 2nd, starting 16 GMT every day. So that's... I just want to say thanks. Also, sorry if you want more of these videos. You know the reason why now, and we can resume our situation here. So, Feitoria number 5 coming up now. But 81 Vils for Blue. Blue is cooking. And Blue should know now. I mean, it's not common, but if Blue knows Feitorias exist, and Blue's a 2K player, so Blue should. Blue now is like, he's stonewalling. He still hasn't pushed me. This has to be Feitorias. And so, the 6th Feitoria is going to stack up here. Man, does this look hilarious. Feitoria really looks cool, I have to say. It is a pretty satisfying building to look at. I kind of want to get one of my villagers and walk around on this building, kind of like Stronghold. But I don't know how many of you guys played that. But Blue will be able to click up to the Imperial Age. And Blue hasn't overinvested into the attack. So res collected, 1,000 more for Blue. Blue could also snag relics in theory. I think that'd be really important at this time. And thinking through the options for now, good old Don Mancuso is going to go for stables, which is one of the best things Burgundians can do. Clearly angling for Paladin. Wow, okay, here's Feitoria number 7. That's crazy. So, that might be the most I've seen in a 1v1 before. I don't think the game would actually allow you to build another one unless you deleted a bunch of pop. So, there's the university. I think this is probably for chemistry, and the organ guns are out now. The thing is, the organ gun is so population efficient. It's so strong for what it is that it's kind of perfect for this, right? But, like, the issue is going to be how many units can you actually make? Like, how can you kill a player who has a really good boom? We'll see. Split micro here from YouPudding, and it feels over, right? It feels like, I mean, I brought this to YouTube. It's just like before. It's super strong. A lion killed this guy's Vil. Like, how could this possibly, how could Blue possibly have a chance? Well, we'll see, won't we? Castle over here is protecting the gold. There's organ guns everywhere. So Blue is correct about one thing. It's definitely going to be organ guns. And stable spamming out behind. Now, the Paladin upgrades, 50% off, as are all the stable upgrades. And you can get it right away now because Cavalier's already in Castle. So any other civ, you might actually be kind of screwed. It's weird to say, but this is actually a great civilization against this. You can have an Imperial Age boom while in Castle Age, and then you can quickly get Paladin. I imagine it's very easy to feel completely overwhelmed if you're in Blue's position right now, but look at those resources for YouPudding. YouPudding really doesn't have resources for organ guns. That's the thing. It's like the food and the gold count really becomes insane. But you can only have so much population. And so that count right now is 21 organ guns. Paladin's on the way from Blue. And let's see how these organ guns end up faring. And let's see if Blue can kill this. Now, I guess, unfortunately, Blue couldn't be more patient. I would have loved a little bit more patient. I mean, it doesn't look like the best engagement ever. Yeah. Ideally, you have Paladin here, because then you have so much more HP. But there's... Oh, God. I was trying to find some positives for Blue. Unfortunately, you got to be patient. It's hard to be patient when there's organ guns in your face. But, you know, how often do Arabia players take engagements here? I think he needed some time to wait for that upgrade, wait for some more upgrades. But when the pressure's on, you just got to send it. It must be really discouraging for Blue. Like, really discouraging. YouPudding also outposting the entire map at the moment. So there's these little dots going up on the map because that's for vision. But YouPudding did lose these organs. And there's the big one, guys. Bombard Tower research in. And I just heard villagers die over here, so YouPudding has also deleted some vills. Just to free up more military space. So, in community games in the past, we actually used a mod that did not allow infinite amount of bombard towers, because in those games can become quite campy, and you can have lots of resource income all the time. Or we had situations where people would camp in the corner with Feitorias, and because they have an endless amount of stone and gold income, they would make endless amount of bombard towers. You couldn't kill them. It doesn't really happen in 1v1s much. But that's the smartest thing you can do here, because this is an incredibly strong structure, and then it doesn't take up pop space. So it's adding to your military, right? So that is the plan. Now, Blue's got Paladin in. Well played there. Blue never caught a glimpse of the Feitorias, but must know. And there's a lot of reason for Blue to resign right now. But thankfully, Blue does not. I think through sheer frustration or maybe just determination to beat this, Blue keeps fighting. And we've got a real fight coming on our hands here. We've got Trebs on the way for Blue. Just think about the army for a second, okay? Think about the army. The army, it is elite organ guns, but you're capped at 18 of them. You're completely capped at this. I think he can't, well, I think he could maybe get up to 30. I'm doing way too much math right now. There's a Treb for Blue onto some of these towers. Paladins are trying to break through on this side. YouPudding doesn't have many vills to pull the quick wall, but is trying to wall behind with some houses and also get a bombard tower up. But this is getting kind of dicey. Still gold income for Blue. Still food income. Has the castle. There's no easy way to push the castle. YouPudding is kind of strapped for pop. And YouPudding brings more vills over. It's an absolute wasteland in here. It's hilarious. And bombard tower goes up, and the bombard tower will slowly kill the paladins. So those paladins are in trouble. If that house doesn't go down, and the house won't go down. Blue learned his lesson. He's now massing these paladins. And going to max out as well. We were missing so many armor upgrades and attack upgrades. These will be fully upgraded in a second. So it'll be 16 organs against at least 30 paladins. And I imagine YouPudding's feeling pretty good about the situation because the KD is absolutely ridiculous. The score is absolutely ridiculous. It feels over, right? Well, Blue's not so happy about this as the towers creep in. This is called extreme patience now. From no patience to all the patience for Blue. And here we go. Paladins are going to storm in. And this is a real test. Sure, you can make more organ guns. But there's only one castle to make the organ guns. Sure, you can make more bombard towers. But you need villagers to make the bombard towers. And Don Mancuso dives on the organs. And is going to take down these towers pretty quickly. Now, is it costly because some paladins die? Absolutely. Gotta feel really bad for any horses watching this. But hey, towers going down. These towers could go down. There's rams. There's trebs coming out of the castle too. And YouPudding's kind of got some warning signs now. And so now you could tell he's going to back up into his base a bit more and drop castle number 2. Now, I think a really important thing that YouPudding did throughout all this is YouPudding went for the relics. And so the outposts all around the map, like this is just YouPudding showing how confident he is in the strat. You got to remember, this account is 2K. And when he plays standard, he's around 2,300, 2,400 elo. So being 2K, you're still top 500 in the world. But there is a level difference, clearly. And I think a lot of that, it's so hard to make minute, like, calculated decisions when there's so much required at a high level. And I think once you get to YouPudding's level, that's the difference between you and a 2K. You can mind game someone like this as well, right? But the towers are going down. Now, I want to show an interesting stat. Look at the bottom left. That is value destroyed. That includes the bombard towers. So I'll toggle that here or there. But it's an important stat to keep in mind because you always look at the res collected. That's actually very close right now. And then value destroyed is also very close. So what I would love to see from Blue is you got to pile on the pressure here. Like, you have to continue to pressure. You have to break through. Now, something you could consider is Onager. I would love Onager against the trees, and then you can run in. But YouPudding backing up, and here comes Blue to keep that push going. Certainly, the predictable area is to arrive to push this castle down, and that's where he comes. But Blue said, not today, bro. Not against me. I'm not letting you flex on me like this. And I love the fight. Elite skirms coming in. Usually you do want some type of trash units incorporated into your army. So I guess in some ways there's some logic to that. I don't love it though. I think you might just want to max out with as many paladins, as many rams, as many trebuchets as possible and send it. But how are you supposed to? Man, would Onager be juicy here. Now the tricky thing, by the way, if you go Onager, the bombard cannons are affected by ballistics. So it's very easy for bombard cannons to snipe. Like, it's not easy, man. Like, the way YouPudding's playing this, he's like, remember, if you don't kill him, he will have endless amounts of gold, of endless amounts of everything. Eventually, blue will run out. Sneaky bombard tower going up there, which I think blue sees. So paladin's on the way. And nice job from blue. You're not maxed at the moment, right? You're not at 200 pops, so back away. Organ gun mass is there. And villager there gets sniped. But res collected, blue is still ahead. Value destroyed, YouPudding slightly ahead. It's a very close game. And blue needs to get those numbers up, and there's Onager. So Onager considered. Onager with paladin, with skirms. I like it. You could also argue monks in some cases, but I think it's really hard to control monks in these situations. So YouPudding regaining some ground. 200 pop, but only actually 60 population on the map, which is crazy. And these organ guns, which were nerfed, by the way. I mean, it's I guess they're always going to be strong if they're elite because it's a gunpowder unit, but like I just have to laugh when I look at this. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the devs either. It's funny to me how the decision to make them less accurate made them better. They made them less accurate, but those shots just are just this solid wave, man. And it's an absolutely crazy unit. Not many units you can only make 30 of and be able to maintain against everything blue's going to send in, but organ guns, probably one of them. But you need castles to produce them. And so it's hard to get those consistently massed, and blue is waiting. Blue will mass a couple onagers. Blue's under a lot of pressure, though. I also see some villagers headed this way to take that gold for blue, which is really smart because gold account is running dry. A lot of that gold remaining is still in YouPudding's base, too. So 3 to 1 KD right now for YouPudding. I'd say the point where you start to get... the point where you start to get concerned if you're blue is like 20 minutes ago. But the point where I don't think it becomes winnable anymore is when all the golden stone is dry, which is what the Feitorias excel at. It's not how fast they necessarily bring in resources. It's the fact that they do bring in resources forever. YouPudding noticed this, so there's an organ going over there to deal with this. And here we go, guys. 50 army for blue now. And if the onagers can hit, the organs do go down very quickly. I think we may see YouPudding consider some monk upgrades here. Monks could, in theory, convert the siege. I think that blue is expecting that because blue's researching devotion. It's kind of funny that blue is researching devotion for one monk. It's just, you know, there always could be more in theory, but... By the way, I didn't say this. I think it happened a while ago. For those that have been paying attention and not falling asleep to my videos, you probably noticed, but one of the Feitorias was deleted. So it freed up population space for YouPudding. That's the only thing that can logically explain these numbers. And here we go. Big fight. Onagers going in to hit shots. Unfortunately, it hit the middle of the pack, and there wasn't a follow-up volley. But blue still coming in. Paladin's just surrounding. You've got to send it at some point, because this death ball of towers is just going to get worse and worse for you. And some of the paladins are actually making their way through there. Those weak organs are getting chewed up. And YouPudding still got some work to do, because YouPudding's castles are still back here. Again, blue just said, nah, I'm not letting it happen. And I really like the Hussar choice, too. You might need to conserve your golds. Hussars still might do a decent amount of work. And then you can save gold for some siege. But it is unfortunate. Burgundians don't get siege ram. And it takes a lot of effort to take down even just one of these towers. And so the capped ram might be enough. But some of these trebs get sniped as well. And YouPudding holding to the hill. And there's another group of organs. And now there's going to be a couple more bombard cannons. Now, I actually think this is soon maybe going to reach the point where YouPudding needs to mass sell off food and then buy wood. Like, you get food and gold at a greater rate. Or at least you get food at a greater rate. Wood is actually the biggest concern. Now, technically, you could eventually make a cavalier switch and spend all that food. But yeah, blue is still going to fight this out. 130 vills. And blue is 8,000 resources collected ahead. Access to gold is the problem. The gold that was down here is gone. And it doesn't seem like blue has a lot. I think okay, there's 500 gold left there and then gold from one relic. Would be really good to get Burgundian Vineyards. At least you get some trickle of gold from your farms. But it might be a little late for that. I also wonder if it makes sense for YouPudding to delete another Feitoria now. I think if you have 20 or so units in queue, then you delete it. Because then you get the 20 units. But until you can easily afford that, maybe you don't. Look at this ball of gunpowder, guys. We've got bombard towers. We've got bombard cannons. We've got organ guns. This is absolutely insane. And Don just keeps sending units into the absolute meat grinder. This reminds me of creating an impossible scenario for the easy AI to beat me when I was like 8 years old on this game. Like, I used to have like a bridge that would go up to a hill where on that hill was endless amounts of towers and Teutonic Knights and Jaguar Warriors and Cataphracts. And of course, the AI could only have like feudal age units. I didn't even want the fight to be close. That's what this feels like right now. And it's slow, it's calculated, but there's just enough aggression at all times to make life difficult for blue. Always. And by that, I mean the bombard cannons are always hitting the castle. Blue's got to repair. Blue's got to mass more. I think Blue's trying to save up some gold. And then after that said, nope, I need paladins again. I might as well spend it all. And, yep. I mean, that's what I'm thinking here. Sapper's now on the way. Blue thinking of anything he can to address this death ball, but it's looking rough. 6 Feitorias on Arabia. Off a crazy fast imp time. Blue did not know what to expect. Blue thought it was going to be feudal age units, and nope, my friends. It's gunpowder and bombard cannons. We've got probably one last big push here for blue. Because the gold's almost dry. Here's the rest of the gold that blue could probably take. Skirms will aim to kill a bombard cannon. There we go. But at what cost? Think of the lives that have been lost on this day. This doesn't feel like the same map that I know. This doesn't feel like Arabia anymore. This is absolutely insane. This is like a cancer that's just growing and growing and growing. It's just unbelievable. And, I mean, again, I gotta commend blue for continuing to push through here, because everywhere you look, it's just pain and misery. But to get to 2K, you've got to be able to push through this. And, I mean, I would have resigned a long time ago. 5K score difference. Here's YouPudding's vision. YouPudding can see everything. And here comes blue. So here he goes. He goes, you know what? I'm sick of this crap. Let's go. We've got more rams than he's ever had. Blue also stacked villagers put villagers inside some of the rams. Now, a couple of the rams will get sniped here, but the bombard cannons that will snipe them are going to disappear. Yeah, I know, guys. You thought it was over too. Here come the rams. The organ guns are disappearing, and Don Mancuso is fighting this back. He's got to take those towers, though. These towers right now, they've got 45 kills. And obviously, blue hasn't been here that frequently. Now, I kind of like this. The rams are coming to the hill. It makes sense to get here and then maybe have follow-up rams go for these towers. But these towers are really strong, and you better take them out before this gets worse. All the HP upgrades are researched for YouPudding, by the way. We had architecture even come in earlier. And so blue with no golds needs to take down all of these towers. And maybe then think about some rams to get into the main eco from YouPudding. We'll see. The Hussars are doing a good enough job. It's really tough. It's really awkward to control rams. And I was hopeful for blue. I was. But how many towers actually have gone down here? Like, 1 now. 2? Like, maybe 3? I guess maybe these can go down. Now, I think in Age of Kings, by the way, Bombard towers did melee damage. And so here, that was eventually changed. But imagine the towers doing melee damage, or at least they did more damage than they do versus rams. How strong it was. It was way stronger back in the day. Basically, the Bombard towers do 1 damage a hit against the rams, so that is not what's taking out the rams. It's just everything else. And that everything else is just the same old mix. And so now, I mean, after that attempt, blue's definitely not going to be able to build up the amount of rams. So blue is to think about what can I do here? And still knows the gold is there, so we'll head over. I think Hussars are there to clear up the organ gun. Real fighter. I don't know a lot about this player, but crazy fight. But unfortunately, hope is slowly disappearing for me, especially because I, happen to know exactly what's happening. Oh, God, he clicked his Hussars. Have you been there before? You click your Hussars somewhere else, and then your Vills start to die, and you're like, oh, no, what happened? Yeah, trying to fix that. Hussars will come over, deal with that, eventually get to the gold. But the creep of pain and misery is starting to cut this economy in two. Still just 6 Feitorias. I don't know how, actually, that there's so much population on the field for YouPudding. I keep looking back to seeing if he's leading the Feitorias. And this will get worse. And this will get worse. And this will get worse. And blue just keeps running and running and running. There's Bombard towers picking off the Vills. I mean, pretty soon there's going to be nowhere to freaking go here, blue. But blue says, I've got it. Because I've got gold and I've got belief. I mean, it's not just moving things, too. You've got to cram new farms into different areas of your eco. You've got to add more buildings. Like, this is tough work, man. And eventually, you're going to still have to face the truth that you can't get to those Feitorias. 526 kills for YouPudding. The towers and the bombard cannons just continue to follow. And again, what a satisfying feeling this must be. YouPudding, this is his point of view. He could see everything. And blue finally taps out and calls the GG. Yeah, if I had to guess, again, I don't know this player. Blue probably played on because blue could not believe that that was happening to him. Not faced up against that before and was really determined to not lose to it. And I don't know. Maybe he said, oh, crap, if this is YouPudding, T90's going to put it on YouTube. I can't lose. Sorry, buddy. But what a game, dude. What a crazy, crazy game. I think, like, there was a moment where blue could have actually done this, but it was with a little bit more patience. There were multiple engagements in early Imperial Age where units were tossed away because of the panic of the organ guns. I think maybe if blue can max out, get to 80 military with those rams and with those paladins before all these towers are built, maybe there's a way to do it. The 28 towers on the map only had 106 kills. That's still a lot of kills. Blue only killed 180 units in this game, so the towers had almost that. And then the amount of organ guns was 172. Now, total res collected, still way higher for blue in this game, but you're going to notice that there are 2 resources there that you don't normally see that high. 28,000 gold for YouPudding, and then 8,000 stone. I think that the highest stone count I typically see is something like 6.5 or 7K. Actually, what we can do and go back, see how many resources are on the map. Okay, so there's 8,400 stone, right? So the most I usually see is like mid 6K, and that's if a player has a lot of map control and gets those neutral stones, and they don't necessarily mine a lot of the stone at the opponent's base. That makes sense, right? So yeah, getting to that number, pretty impressive, and that's only because of the Feitorias. And it's just really, really strong. Now, some of the things that made this beautiful is just the complete and utter mind game of it all. Like, that's what is actually more beautiful for me. The opponent saw the castle, expected because of the castle it would be Castle Age organ guns, and then it was a fast imp. Like, I mean, I think eventually, if YouPudding keeps doing this, people are going to know, and then people are not going to respect the castle as much, and they're going to try and break through the house walls and whatnot. But then there could be the even reverse mind game. It's like, you think he's going fast imp, and then he goes knights. You know? Just so many options with the Portuguese and so many different ways to play it. But it was a bit of a masterpiece. You don't see a 3-0 KD every day. And like I said, wanted to bring this to you guys, show this to you guys, and let me know what you think. Blue clearly just mashing that keyboard really speedy there. But yeah, I think there was potential here. I think there was potential. Unfortunately, the mind game was too strong and the snowball was too big. I think go back to that one engagement for Blue, especially because of how much he fought, right? How good he ended up doing. There was an engagement like this right here. Oh, man, was this painful. Because there's nothing pushing his castles right now. This fight here where he loses everything, imagine if he saves those. Just chills in the back of his base, relocates to the side, then shows the same level of fight when he has that many more paladins. It could have been good. And maybe it allows a couple more towers to go up. You never know. But this fight here was really good. And then maybe if you have Siege Ram Civ, instead of a civilization that has Capped Ram, maybe you have the firepower to push it back. It felt winnable for Blue. It really did. At this stage of the game, the towers could have gone down faster with a bit more siege. So anyways, that's it, guys. If you want more from this, of course, just, you know, leave a like. And honestly, if you don't even feel like leaving a comment, just leave a like, because that just lets me know, hey, people like this thing. As I said during the cast, I won't have as much time to do daily uploads over the next 2 weeks. There still will be really cool uploads, but it's not going to be daily. And then eventually we'll get to the round of 12, the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the final of the main event of Titans League, which will all come here instead of necessarily the extras channel. At least the quarterfinals onwards will be on the main channel. And then I'll be back in my normal cycle of streams and whatnot. I have more things to talk about for you guys eventually. I've got some really cool merch things coming up, which I'm still working on. I've got just so many ideas for content and all that. But we'll leave it at that. There is a cannonball instead of a face for that dude right there. That is what I'm going to leave you with. Thank you guys very much for watching. Thanks for the support, as always. Hope you enjoyed. And watch out for the fast imps on Arabia. It might catch you.